and answer questions and so on. My name is Mike Carter. I'm a third generation Oregonian, veteran here in Vietnam. Lived in Oregon all my life, spent 30 years in the nursery industry, retired from that. I'm a professional firearm instructor. I teach firearm and licensing. And I started with Move Oregon's border from day one here. And I'll give you some background. It's not a sales pitch or anything like that. I'm just going to give you background information right now. And then I'll take questions. In 2019 in the fall, a small group of grassroots citizens from Josephine, Jackson, Klamath, and Deschutes counties came together in a pizza place in Lapine, where I happen to live. I saw a flyer on the bulletin board about it coming together. And at the time, there was a lot of people that were upset with Governor Brown and the way things were going on in the Oregon legislature and the way Central and Eastern Oregon were sort of being ignored and not listened to about the problems. At that time, we wondered what we could do. I do not know. Come on in. I do not know who came up with the idea that, well, maybe a solution would be to move the border and to allow Eastern Oregon, or rural Oregon at that time, because it included the southern counties of Jackson, Josephine, Coos, Curry, and Douglas down there. Those were the original ones in the state of Jefferson movement. But somebody came up with this idea, and we thought, well, that sounds pretty good, but we want to find out how the other counties feel about this, because there was only 4 or 5 of us from those counties. So we came up with the concept of getting a measure put together, and we just wanted to ask them, if you had the opportunity to move the border and become part of Idaho, is that something you'd want to look into? Well, according to the Secretary of State rules, an initiative petition by the people, you can't ask a question like that. It's got to be a legislative process there. In other words, we had to create a law in each of the counties in order to get it on the ballot. So when you look at the ballot measures that are out there, including the one here in Wallowa on it, you think, why isn't it just a point-blank question about joining Idaho? Well, we had to create, and sometimes it took 10 or more rewrites to get the county clerk to approve what we were asking. Now, a couple of counties, now that we have 13 counties that approved this measure, a couple of counties, like Wheeler County, point blank asked the question, do you want Wheeler County to be part of Idaho? And 59% of the people said yes on that ballot measure. Crook County, the most recent one that just passed, that was not our measure. I have been turned down more than 10 times by the county clerk to get it on the ballot and couldn't get the wording right. The people of Crook County said, we want to have an opportunity to vote on this measure. So they went to the county commissioners. I was at that meeting. There was about 70 citizens that told Judge Crawford that why can't we vote on this? And so he talked to the other commissioners and we put it on the ballot. That measure passed. I.e., like in Wallowa County, Crook County, a Portland organization outspent us in Wallowa County 3-1. They outspent us 5-1 in Crook County, and it still passed there. So, where are we at right now? The Oregon legislature has stonewalled this movement and/or trying to get a discussion started about how rural Oregon feels the direction that the Oregon legislature has taken us. I spent several times over in Salem walking the halls and talking to legislators. In 2023, the Democrat House of Representative caucus passed a phone call and said, we will not discuss it at all, point blank. And I talked to one of the representatives over there, and they said, you're not even listening to our problems that we've got over here. You know, whether it's wolves or potentially losing diesel, all of the kind of things that are going on. And he says, Mike, we hear what's going on. We just outvote you. Now, that was point blank in my face on it. If we have an issue as citizens in the United States to go to our representatives and say, we feel there's a problem, and our representatives run into that wall in the legislature where they're not listened to. Senator Finley, Representative Owens, in the central part of Eastern Oregon, that's what's happened. They said, we're not even gonna try. We're gonna try, the comment came out, we're gonna try to make it less better for us. So we're gonna
say that over
work
again.
Across the aisle.
Excuse me, say that over again.
We wanna make it less better.
Less better, what is less better?
Well, it means less of what we want. We're gonna work better with the other side to get whatever we can. So we're not gonna carry the message forward with it. Now, most of the measures that are coming out of the Oregon legislature are focused around the most populated areas, which are Portland and the Willamette Valley. I don't blame them. That's their choice. They feel that, i.e. like Measure 114, if guns are banned or removed, then maybe the shooting will stop in Portland. Now, some of us feel differently about that particular issue with it. So, hey, they're trying to pass another one that will end animal production in Oregon. They didn't get enough signatures on it. I believe they'll try to go back for it, and that's their right. That's what they want to do. Now, the representatives, where are most of the representatives in the legislature from? The most populated part of Oregon. And they need to do what their constituents want, or they don't get reelected, because that's why they were elected in the office. So, we run into that stone wall, and it's about 45 days ago that we sent a letter to the governor just asking if we could sit down and talk about the issues. And we have not received any word back. In the gubernatorial election or campaign in 2022 in the fall, all three of the candidates said, we realize there's a problem between urban Oregon and rural Oregon. And our current governor said, I will travel through every county and talk to people and find out what's going on. She has gone to most of the counties, and it's been closed door, not pre-announced meetings, not meeting with the general public, in and out and gone with it. So my goal as the president of Move Oregon's Board and Citizens for Greater Idaho is to get the discussion started. Now, it may not end up in a board of adjustment. It may end up in some other form. I have no idea. But we, as free Americans, First Amendment, we can get up and speak. We can have representation. We can ask our representation to be heard in the legislature. And let's go back to the founding of America. What was the problem with the American public before they were America with being under the governance of England?
It was religion.
Lack of representation.
It was religion.
too much taxes.
Religion.
Right. And how did that end up?
Did I say religion? Religion.
It ended up in a battle.
It was religion.
Now,
Because it was.
from day one, with Move Oregon's voter and Greater Idaho, we said we will not do anything illegal. We're not gonna break down windows, we're not gonna start fires, we're not gonna block traffic or anything else. We're gonna do everything so we're accountable, and we'll do it as truthful as we have the facts. Because when I get done with this, I want to look back at it and say, we gave it our best shot.
To do what? I want to know what you're trying to do. I'm trying to figure out why I'm here listening to you. The reason I'm here to listen to you is I've spent 40 years in Idaho. Now I'm going to try to keep my hands down, not get excited. You're trying to get me to do something I don't want to do. Okay? Now we've had a lot of other people haven't spoke up. I want to know what your, lack of a better word, what your bitch is.
My bitch is,
Yeah, with specific things. Give me something specific. You mentioned 114, I get it. Don't we have a state legislator here?
what about 110?
Okay, I get 110.
Okay,
I get it too.
what about recreational marijuana?
What about it? What about
You
it?
don't get
Wait,
tax money
listen.
again here because of it?
Wait, just a second.
Don't want to hear these manifestos.
You're taking my rights away when you say shit like that.
Wait,
You take my rights away.
I'm
And
not,
you're sitting here saying the First Amendment, we all have rights.
That's right.
Bullshit. If you're a woman of childbearing age in Idaho, you fucking have to die first. And I am not gonna allow that to happen to my nieces. Ooh, fuck. I got
Let's go back. That's it. You can't talk when you get excited like that. Let me talk for a minute.
can I,
I'm going to say something,
fucking idiot.
okay?
Move your
I'm
fucking
going to keep my voice down. 40 years I lived in Idaho. Logger, veteran, owned 3 ranches. Guess what? They tried to take my land away over there. Look up Galley versus Idaho County, our closest county here, right across the river from us. Look it up sometime. County commissioners with your guys' friend, Judy Boyle over there in Idaho. You probably know who she is. Working against me in my own county to take a private road from me. Now, I'm not going to go into that whole scenario. You can look it up. We went to the Supreme Court, whipped them twice, changed the state laws over there in every state in the West that ever had a homestead, based on the fact there were people around, excuse me, without pointing a finger at you, just like you, that thought they could take my land from me. Lied. Wrote affidavits, went to their state legislator to try to land for me. 40 years over there. I went to the state Supreme Court. They kept appealing it to try to break us. We sold, brought our assets to Wallowa County. I could see it from Heaven's Gate over there. I'm going over there, where I can do what I damn well please.
for a while?
Oh, so you say.
No.
This is a fair deal that you guys have dreamed up to try to screw us over. I'm telling you, this is a gerrymandering thing here to move the political positions around, which were already, Democrats are already in the left side of that. We don't really get what we need all the time. You're talking about 110 and 114. They can be amended. When I saw those things on the ballot, I thought, this is trouble. That's what I thought. This is trouble. But it can be amended. Maybe it's on the way to a compromise. Okay? Man, I've been around wolves. I lived over there in the Salmon River for 40 years. These little petty things you're talking about, you have a state legislature and a legislator to represent you. What? I don't want to move over there. I will guarantee you that I can make a case against you guys. Okay? And you're way out on this thing. You may have some supporters, but you're not telling the whole story. You've got another agenda. Your agenda is Confederate and states' rights issues.
Yes.
That's where you're at.
Yes, it is.
And I'm not calling no, I'm a history buff and a history professional. You're coming from the same deep, dark spot that a lot of them dummies back in 1865 had to get corralled to take care of. You're one of them. You bought into that. I'm against you. And I will fight you all the way to anywhere I want to go. And where you want to push it to. Or we can try to get along on 114 and 110. Because that's the only bitch I had in the last election. That's the only bitches I had because they were written a little bit strange for people to, some people to accept in the rural areas. I get that. But trying to move my border, I moved over here. Okay? My medical insurance over there, $500 a month. Here, $0. If I want to smoke weed, here. 15 years over there. My wife has problems female-wise, she's got to come over here. You're way out, man. And along with your group, I sent a letter to your group today, typed it out, looked at what your positions are, and I don't see anything you're bitching about. Doesn't make no sense to me at all. Why you would drag me into it? That's the reason I'm here, because I don't like it. I don't like you bringing it up. I want to be watching TV and relaxing. I just came from Hood River today, but I'm here because I give a shit about where I came from and left. And you want me to bring me back there. I don't want to go. It cost me nothing but money over there. Damn near took our ranch. Kids buying my own pencils over there for my kids in Idaho County. Meanwhile, down in Meridian, they got swimming pools and all kinds of crap. You guys wrote something about Governor Little down there? You better do some research on him. Let me tell you, he's in somebody's pocket, and it sure ain't the working man.
A quick question for you. I went through your Secretary
Hang
of
on
State.
just a second, hang on just a second.
I have 3 issues that I feel comfortable bringing up right here.
Okay?
If you like Idaho, please stay in Idaho. I didn't move to Idaho because I don't like Idaho. I don't like their medical care. I don't like what they've done to women's reproductive health rights. I don't like what they've done to people who are looking to get trans health care, especially people who are 17 and under. And I really don't like your proponents of more opioids and less THC. It is proven time and time again how THC limits the use of opioids. You say you're a veteran, my guess is you might know a little something about PTSD, and I don't think all the drugs the VA wants to throw at you and I are the answer. So they're just medical, huge. What are you going to do for us regarding medical? And who's going to pay for it? Because my income will go down when you move the border.
Okay, first of all, the zero health care payment, who's paying for it?
Medicare and Medicaid get paid by all of us. That's called, I know you hate this.
Oh, God.
Okay, get it? Okay, also on the bridge down below, we're driving over. Thank you, Mr. President. Guess what? Idaho, Highway 95, they're driving all the way to Grandville at 100 miles an hour now. Used to take us years to get over to Lewiston from Idaho. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. You guys don't see the things we get out there going down the road. With this medical care and the perfect hospital we have over here and everything else. Yes, I said zero. Our ranch is zero. That's why. But here, it doesn't cost me anything because they don't want me to sell my ranch or my house or my pickup or my tractor to go ahead and get on Oregon health care. That's me. The next guy down the road, he might, I don't know. Because I ain't in that. I'm in the section where you don't have to pay. In Idaho, it'd be $500 a month. I already know because I paid over there.
You know,
Damn near starved to death over at that place.
you can bring up what you feel are facts, just like you do. But don't you ever accuse me of being a Confederate.
Well, that's what you are.
I fought for my country.
It has nothing to do with the Civil War and states' rights. It has nothing to do with it. I fought for my country with you. I said I was a vet.
My turn, my turn, okay? When I left during Vietnam and came back 7 years later, with the attitude from the general public that the military was baby killers and blah, 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 Oregon changed. In 7 years, Oregon changed. I love Oregon. I bleed green. I do. I do not want to move to Idaho. I want to change the governance in Oregon change the governance, the direction that they're going, because you haven't seen anything yet.
How do you know that?
Now, how do I know it? Because
Yeah.
I go to the county, I go to the state capitol and I talk to the politicians. They tell me what's coming down the road.
That's what they say on Fox News every day too. We're all gonna go broke and get stupid. All right? Look it. See that board? See what you sign up there? You say you're not, you love Oregon?
I do.
But look, well then you better look at your sign, man.
I think Oregon is the most beautiful state in the union.
What's great, it'll continue
love
to be
the
regardless of the state line.
I,
Look at that. Look what you wrote. That's your sign.
okay, you've got your opinion, you've got your experience about living in Idaho. I can't deny that because that's your experience, son. I'm telling you what I have heard coming out of the state legislature. There's another measure called Measure 118, which is going after taxing businesses again. Businesses don't pay the increased taxes. They take that and they hand it on down to us, and we have to pay it. People say Oregon doesn't have a sales tax. You look at the corporate activity tax. You look at people who are working right now, they're paying a transportation tax in enterprise to help transportation in Portland. That's where all the money goes.
That's how we all share the wealth around. That's how we do it. Just like when you go get your Medicare, well, I assume you're on Medicare.
Yep.
Okay, I am too. I don't want you getting sick and causing me more money problems down the road. Like all of us here, we all share that together so that we don't have problems. Now, I'm not going to convince you the difference between being a Republican and being a Democrat. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, even though it doesn't sound like it. I've ranched and farmed my whole entire life. Got 2 college degrees and a veteran, just like you. I'm just saying, man, I see what I read. I see what it's on television. I see, and I've been following you particularly, because when I got into this Oregon border deal, I tried to figure out who the hell the leader was, and it points to you. You say you're the president. We're the rest of the folks.
There are 2 of them here, and there's a bunch of them that are behind the scenes, which are Oregonians too. One owns a business in John Day, another one owns 3 businesses in Prineville, all Oregonians, all fighting.
Why do they want to move the border? What's wrong with them? They're sick too? Yeah, I'm not saying implying you're sick. There's something twisted about this mentality. For another thing is I did some research on the state constitution today, and I'm kind of a Civil War guy. All right? In 59, when they made this from a territory to a state, Idaho couldn't join on yet. They were still part of Oregon. But there was a loyalty clause being signed because the Southerners wanted this state. They wanted it because a lot of Southerners were moving here. And they didn't want it to become a slave state, which it damn near became before it was made from a territory into a state. So there was a loyalty clause. Like Idaho had to sign in, what was it, 89 or 98, because so many Confederate veterans moved over there, they couldn't control them up in the north. I mean, talking serious shit. It doesn't go away.
What happened in Western Oregon in the 30s?
In Western Oregon and
Western Oregon in the 30s.
I
It
mean,
was
I have a
the
lot.
biggest Ku Klux Klan
Yeah.
area west of the Mississippi. So I can't control what happened back then.
Me neither, but we can control what's going on right now with you.
But you know that when they formed the state of Oregon, there was one representative that represented all the eastern part and voted against joining Oregon.
I know that.
But he was
I read that
outvoted,
today.
right?
I read that today, yes.
Yeah.
I read
He was
that.
outvoted.
Well, he was outvoted. End of story. This is what we have.
But
Snake River is our boundary.
stop and think about this. You disagree with me. You disagree with the movement. There's facts over here that disagrees with what we're saying. But we're here talking about it. Now, why doesn't that happen at the state capitol? I'm just asking.
Sir, actually, I have a very good friend of mine who is an Oregon legislator, and it absolutely does happen at the state capitol. You claim to know what's going on behind the scenes. I happen to have a friend who represents southeast Portland and a tiny sliver of northeast Portland, and they absolutely do discuss the issues of what's going on here. What I have not heard, a couple of things. Number one, Idaho's 9% sales tax. On my 2018 truck, that would be $5,900 in extra taxes. For the average Oregonian, that would be $134 every week in more taxes. And you say, oh, well, they'll just magically get rid of the taxes or lower our, no, they have to pay to change all the road signs around, to pay all these extra cops now that they're gonna have to come around. You also claim that Western State Strategies has outspent you. According to the Secretary of State, Oregon's filings, they have spent roughly $89,000 on this election cycle. You guys have spent $215,000, almost a 2 to 1.
Where are you coming up with these figures?
It's called Secretary of State, Oregon filings on the internet.
I put them in there. I put those figures in
Okay,
there.
I added
Now,
up
if you're
every
talking
single donation.
215,000 over 4 years,
Sir, you got $100,000 in one day. Where did that come from? Who gave that money to you?
all of our donations come in.
You go behind an NGO and you list the NGO as the donor, that you don't say who gave the NGO that money.
What you need to do is go back and look at the figures, look at the time periods that's involved in it, and when it came in there. I tell you what.
Sir, it's
got
not
money
my
that we got
responsibility how you
donated.
spend your money. If you spend your money irresponsibly, that's on you.
Go back and look at the figures when they came in. I want to tell you that a majority of our donations don't come from Oregon.
And you also claim to have the supermajority. Why all these special elections that the taxpayers are paying for? Why all these meetings that can legally do nothing, can't alter the borders? We are now paying for, it's called an unfunded mandate. If you want to look things up, we are now paying for this. Greater Idaho organization's not paying for it. And why all these special elections when you know the majority of people do not vote in special elections? Why not this November, when 90% of the people vote?
Do you believe in the 50+1 vote?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it was 7 votes beyond 50%.
Yeah.
And without counting.
Yeah, that's for the third time. The third time,
Second time,
lost 2 other times.
no, it
Yes,
didn't.
you
No,
did.
it didn't.
Yes, it did.
I'm the one that heads that up. I know darn well. Well, County
And
was
you
one of the
also
first.
voted, if you talk about that big thick study that talks about all the economic benefits and stuff like that, all of the counties that will get economic benefits to joining Idaho, they've all voted no. But that's except for I think Wheeler County. You never answered that. What about my house value that's going to drop by more than half when it moves to Idaho?
Go to our website if you care to.
Oh,
No,
I just went to their website to
Let me finish. I let you talk, okay? So let me finish. Go to the website. Look at the economic impact study that was done by Claremont University, not us. We didn't do it. And look at the figures, what they say on there. And the tax issues and everything else. Look at it. Do you know right now, out of the West, $690 per year per wage earner out of the west side comes to Eastern Oregon
Right.
to help fund it.
And you think Idaho with 1/5 the budget is going to give us the same amount?
They fund their counties differently. You
Right, they put a sales tax on.
Not only that, the state, I don't know how it is in this state, because I haven't had kids in school in a while. The state endowment fund was to support the schools over there. Back when, what was that? Well, I was logging back then.
Don't start me on schools.
I don't know, well, I don't know, maybe we should start in the school.
So,
Figure out what
okay,
you're thinking about.
let me give you some facts on Oregon schools.
Okay?
They
Kind of like the other facts
abolished their
around.
graduation requirements because their graduation rate was one of the worst in the nation. Now, I sat in a hearing and listened to the changes in the state law. There is no truancy anymore. Kids do not have to go to school. They cannot be cited. The parents cannot be cited for it at all. It's stopped with it. They cannot enforce the tobacco laws on the campus anymore because Oregon abolished that law.
There's a federal, you're spinning shit on me now. You're
I'm
spinning stuff right now.
I'm telling you what
Don't spin stuff at me, man. That is bullshit. There's a federal law against kids getting tobacco. That's bullshit. Okay? Or whatever, you can just live in your
I disagree with
reality.
you because I sat and listened to it from a juvenile detention person who heads up Hardy County, told their commissioners the changes in the laws and what they could do and what they couldn't do. They could not have the police arrest them for it, for vaping, for smoking, or anything else on campus. The schools can establish a rule for it, but they can't have them arrested or get in trouble in the juvenile courts. They can shoot and kick them out.
What happens in John Day though? Let's put it that way. You're from La Pine. What happens there? When kids don't go to school, they vape or smoke. What happens there?
They just don't go to school.
Well, I would talk to my county commissioners, like these guys around here.
But they can't do anything. Their hands are tied.
So you said, I want to go back to something. Today I got on your website. Your website.
Okay?
Okay. I'm looking on it. You know what it says on there? And it showed the map, like your hat. Wallowa County in rebellion. Isn't that what it said? Well, Eastern Oregon County's in rebellion. That's what it said. I don't see that. I'm not in rebellion. I'm only in rebellion against, and I'll use the word again, Confederates. People who are willing to separate from the Union or the state because they don't get their way. They don't get their votes. I'd be calling my legislator up on the phone like I do Cliff Benz, and I'm a Democrat. I send him a certified letter. Make sure he signs for it so he knows what I'm thinking. Every time I send him a letter, he's responding. Even though he's across the fence. I'm gonna tell you something, the gate swings both ways. You better get with the gate. Swing both ways. Get this out of your head, move on, and you'll live longer because you won't be worried so much about people taking shit away from you. Okay? Because you're worried. You're concerned.
I'm not worried about anything.
You're not? You're worried about us?
No, I'm not worried about you.
You're not?
So,
Oh, we want to keep it the same then. Go on, go back to the county.
The people of Wallowa County voted.
7
And it didn't worry me one way or the other.
5 of my family members never showed because we didn't know to show up that day, and that would have been 5 more that wouldn't have been on the list. You.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
My name's Meg. I live here in the county. Thank you for coming out all the way from the pond. I know it's a long trip, it's pretty here, but I'll be able to see it right. First thing I want to acknowledge is that you were almost beat by people who baked pies against you. I was part of the group. Never Idaho. No to Greater Idaho. We baked pies. We were no part of Western states. We had no control over what they were doing. And frankly, it was irritating to us because I didn't want to get that shit in my mailbox. I didn't want that interference. I wanted to do this on my own. You can't do shit. So I want to hear you acknowledge that you almost got beat by a bunch of ladies making pies from Wallowa County. Right?
Good.
We make great pies too. I want you to know that. Second thing, when we're talking pie auctions here, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the maternal mortality panel that was established in Idaho 2 years ago. Please tell me about that.
I can't.
Would you like me to tell you about that?
Please do. Please
Okay,
do.
I will, be happy to. So my background's in healthcare, so love, and healthcare policy. So Idaho has a big problem with maternal death, maternal and fetal death. But our whole nation does. This is a terrible place to have a baby. Really, this country's a terrible place to have a baby right now. It's really bad. I can imagine being one of the worst. So a couple of years ago, a group of people said, we need to figure out what's going on. So they conducted a panel, and they looked at every death that happened, maternal or fetal death that happened in Idaho in a 1-year period. You know what they found? They were all women of color, or they were Native women. They were houseless. They were in addictive situations. And you know what they did? They had all the opportunities in the world. All of the data was right there in front of them. This is what you need to do to keep women from dying, doing something they've been doing for time immemorial, right? They had all the opportunity to do that. You know what they did? They disbanded the town. Don't look, no problem. I don't want my children to raise children in Idaho. I don't want them to have that health care. We have outstanding health care. Outstanding health care here in this county. We are blessed beyond measure with the health care we have here, and our amazing hospital system. We are so, so lucky. But I can tell you one thing. If this became Idaho, that would be a ghost town because you're losing your residency programs over in Boise. FMRI, family medicine research, they're closing. They're not going to have residency program because people are running from the opposite. They're running away.
Spokane, they're running to Spokane. It's where they're running to.
Well, yeah, because there's no
Right.
OB care anymore in northern Idaho.
Or Lane,
at
San
all.
Point, now they're running
At
across the
all.
border.
It's terrifying. My family's from Ada County. My grandpa was the ag agent there for years and years and years. My brother was born at Gritman up in Moscow. I love Idaho. It's beautiful. So, thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your input, because I'll go home and I'll look at it.
Please do,
I
and
will.
call me.
I do not have a problem with that, but I want to tell you, just like I'm talking to you, I'm not afraid to stand up here and take the accusations, the disagreements. I want to see it taken to the next level, okay?
You want to see it in Salem.
Yes,
Okay, so if we can get you to quit putting this in our face, maybe we can get something done over there. But you say you rejected that before. So I have a problem with that, whether or not you're willing to accept a compromise in relation to two big things for you, 114 and 110. That's what you brought up. And I agree with you on 114 and 110.
I started to bring up a few more things before somebody got upset here,
But the
okay?
issue.
Eastern Oregon voted almost 2-1 against recreational marijuana, and now the dollars are rolling in,
Mhm.
and it's bought it. Okay,
Oh,
so now, yeah, okay, the marriage, one man, one woman, Eastern Oregon, by 60-some% voted in favor of that. Our vote does not count in Eastern Oregon. It takes less than 50% of Multnomah County's vote to cancel everything out.
My vote doesn't count in this county at all.
Wait a minute.
Please explain that marijuana vote again.
I never voted for one national woman.
Eastern Oregon, and we can go back and we can look at it, voted almost 2-1, 66% against recreational marijuana. But it
Puyallup
did,
County didn't. Puyallup County passed it.
okay, but we're talking about, it. I'm saying as an example, it did not matter what our vote was, because it was canceled out by the Portland area with it. So, there's a lot of other avenues.
Counties have the choice to not have marijuana in locations.
I'm not saying for it or against it. I'm not.
When I look in Idaho, believe me, in Idaho County, I go back over, we own property over there still at my own ranch. I had sold a piece of my father, he passed away. So I've been going back and forth over there. Holy cow. Anyway,
They're all coming over to Ontario to buy.
Yeah, next time you go, exactly, you see all the cities lined up with that Western Idaho.
What I'm saying is, there is a different philosophy over there, and you're welcome to it. I mean, but I don't understand the trying to get the whole half a state getting over there. I don't get that. And I don't know why Idaho would want to send a plow truck clear to Pilot Rock or, good Lord, Christmas Valley to help plow the roads when they can't keep their own truck running now. Like a 500 miles of snow plowing in one night. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't have any reference to that.
You know.
Yes.
I appreciate you giving some others an opportunity to speak and ask questions here. So, it seems to me the core issue is what I'm hearing from various meetings and my reading the websites is you're not being heard. People in your group, people with your values, which might be different from others, but are not being heard at the state level. So what is your specific strategies? What have you tried to accomplish so far? And then what are your strategies to try and change that and really get to the core of the issue rather than moving the border, which opens up a huge set of unknowns, other problems, unforeseen consequences, all that. So just, I mean, why don't you work on the real problem, which you and your group have identified and are passionate about. So tell us more about that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You know, to me, that's it. It's representation. Being able to speak out on whichever side that you're on. And right now, our side is not being listened to in the Oregon legislature.
Not quite true, sir. I'm sorry, but my friend in the legislature
No, hang on,
has
just
said
let
that
me finish. Let
have
me
had
finish.
more than your time.
Please let him answer my question.
Let me finish.
Well,
Let me finish, please. If that were the case, you would have hearings going on, you would have a task force, you would have a governor says, come over and talk to us. With it. But it's not. And when the other side over there says, we're not even going to discuss any of that activity. We don't care what happens over there. We just outvote you. That's what they're doing.
but sir, you also have not answered my question. Who gave you the $100,000?
You'll have to go back and look at that.
Sir, it says right in there, it just says your NGO.
And
It doesn't say
where did it come from?
Exactly.
No, it says it there. Where
No,
it
it
came-
doesn't.
I disagree with you, because I fill out those Oregon reports.
Have we asked the tribes what they want?
Pardon?
Excuse me, I'm gonna say it again. Nobody ever asked them. What did the tribes think?
The tribes, sir?
What does the tribe say?
Yeah, the tribes.
Yeah,
Wolf
the
Creek
people
tribe,
who are here
Umatilla
first.
tribe, Nez Perce tribe, all of them.
Faces up around that.
They're all people here too. They've been neglected over the years and never looked. And now it's time, maybe they're on the warpath again. You best be paying attention to what they're saying.
Do they have the opportunity to vote?
That's a question between you and them. I'm asking you whether or not you've been broached by the Native Americans in the state.
I have not.
Well, I'm gonna-
Okay, well, that's a good point. I got a note from them today.
Federal protection.
Okay, and they're, you best be careful.
And what is
When you
the-
get them in a religious frame of mind, you best be watching out. I'm telling you.
I'm not starting the war with Native
Then
Americans.
you need to get with them, because they're part of the state too.
I have talked to the Warm Springs tribe, looked at their hunting rights all throughout central Oregon, from the Columbia River to California, is all of their territory in there. I understand that. The reason we haven't even come close to that is because the Native Americans are under a federal system for the most part. Okay, it doesn't affect whichever state. It's a federal
A
issue.
lot of them live outside the res. So, outside of that, I know I deal with it in our irrigation district, for instance. All right? We're in the middle of this, 12 years down the road. It gets complicated. I see their points on things, big time. A lot of neglect and very little collaboration over the years. When I see on your website you're collaborating with them, they'll figure that you're dealing with other people besides just white people.
Right now, what good does it do me to collaborate with the Native Americans?
Get some support. What are you doing with us right now?
When I can't even get an ear.
I go right down there, rent a room down there at the Wild Horse and invite them all up. See what they say. Careful. That's all I can say.
I tell you what,
Excuse me.
if I were Native American, and I'm not, okay, I'm Caucasian, how do they feel they were treated by the white?
Well, they got a record to prove what they got going.
It was
Right now,
terrible, it was
it's-
terrible, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't listened to. And they brought it up and everything. I feel the same way. But I cannot emphasize, I can't feel how they ever felt with it.
But this new issue, this one affects them. This is a new issue for them. And they're starting to get some ideas about it because it keeps building, see? Just like in your website, I don't mean to monopolize the dialogue here, all right? But I did a lot of research when I came here. It doesn't mean I'm right. Your website sways and spins the amount of support you're getting. That's my opinion. Because you said in the website, it says a rebellion. These counties are in rebellion. That's what you imply. I don't see that. I'm not even rebelling against anything but the manifesto that you guys are trying to get across. Okay? Everything's been fine since '59. A lot of changes have happened in this state that have been real positive for a lot of people. Now, they might not be all positive for people on this side of the divide, but we live pretty rural out here, and a lot of the things that affect the other side of the state don't affect us over here. I get that. Still gotta work.
Quick question, is something more positive a little bit from, so don't think I'm the devil incarnate. Which counties are you going to next in kind of a time frame, and what's your ideas on that?
In other words, what counties are we going to next? Was that your question?
I think you've got a couple of counties that are
It's a
already
good-
on your map, and so I just,
Here's our thought, okay? We're not all positive. We're not trying to push it on anybody. Josephine County voted twice against it. The first time was our ballot, the second time was the commissioners. Lost by 2%. So be it. Same with Douglas County. Same way with it. We won't force it on them. So we said, well, maybe it's just an Eastern Oregon situation because 13 counties did voice an opinion somewhat in favor of looking into the possibility and or sending a message to the state that if 13 counties in Eastern Oregon, the only two not would be Umatilla and Gilliam. If 13 counties is not enough to say, let's sit down and talk about it, what good is two more going to do? So we're not going after any more counties at this time.
okay, so to play devil's advocate, you said Josephine County voted twice and you stopped there. You voted twice no, and you kept it going until the third time, so you got the result you wanted.
Well, the leaders in Josephine County want to try it again, not us. The people in Josephine County, just like the ones in Crook County. We didn't push that on them. That was the people that went and said, hey, we want to have a chance to vote on this because they want the issue brought up too. So as far as our movement, we are not intending right at this time to engage any more counties with it.
Now, to play devil's advocate again, okay, I too am a registered nurse, okay? My sister wanted me to move to Haley, Idaho, one of the more expensive areas of Idaho. Would have cost me $25 an hour to move there, from Portland, Oregon at the time. You want us to all of a sudden now accept making $7 an hour on average less?
The fact is that less than 2% of the population in Idaho work at minimum wage. Most people work at a higher wage because that is the only way businesses find qualified people is to pay a commensurate amount of money to get them to go to work for them.
But sir, as a registered nurse,
I'm a proponent that says there should be no mandatory minimum wage. Let business say, hey, I've got to spend $40 an hour to get that person to work for me.
so you're going to have nurses getting paid substandard wages again like my great aunts.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's another issue, I guess.
This may
Looking
seem
for the
really
people.
simplistic, but I needed some help. I've been at Oregonian for all my life, and I like it here.
Mhm.
And I like Willard County. I don't like Idaho, that's why I don't live in Idaho.
Right.
So if you move the borders, why do I have to move? If you don't like Idaho, just stay there. Don't make me move. Who's gonna pay for my move? Who's gonna pay for the decrease in the property value? Who's gonna bear those costs for something that I'm not?
It's actually a takings. You know what a takings is,
Can I
right?
hear what he has to say?
Okay, I don't have all the answers to how, we're not part of the negotiation of anything that comes
You're
about.
making
No,
a
wait,
pitch for something to happen. I hope that you would have some answers.
yeah, but it doesn't matter what I say about it. Whether or not they're gonna grandfather this in, water rights, property rights, they're coming after your water rights. They're only,
Who are these people?
wait,
Who are
stop,
these people?
wait, stop. have you seen it in the news where they have reclassified the definition of water rights in Oregon that says the water is not yours, it belongs to the public? And so they've gone into the Willamette Valley, they've shut some little operations down, little gardening operations down, and said, you can't operate any longer because you don't have a water right on that water.
That's in the
I
White
had to agree with you, and I was in Idaho and had several water rights, I was in Stinker.
Can I get him to
I'm
answer
sorry,
the question?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so I would love to answer a bunch of these questions, whether I think it could be grandfathered in. I am a states' right. I believe in states' rights over federal rights. I think the federal's in the area where they shouldn't be in a lot of cases. But more than that, I believe in county rights, that the counties should have more power to do things because they're there with their people, they live in that area, they're elected by their locals and stuff. But as far as answering their questions, I don't have an answer for that.
But there needs to be some sort of thought about.
Yes,
Something as simple as changing my car registrations and license. Why do I have to pay for that if somebody moves the border against my?
well, I thought about licensing, whether it's vehicle licenses or game license or real estate license, or like I say, water rights, the difference between the two states right now. But understand,
Okay, what are you
Greater
gonna do about it?
Oregon, Move Oregon's border and Greater Idaho is trying to get the parties together to start talking about this. And first level is at the state of Oregon. The state of Idaho, the House of Representatives, has passed a memorial and sent a letter to the state of Oregon saying, you want to talk about this?
But, sir, the Idaho Senate refuses to take it up for a vote. They think it's a joke, just like Oregon's House and
Hang on
Senate.
just a second. So I'm trying to answer to you that whatever I can come up with as a potential answer could be a total flat lie, because I don't have the authority to back it up. I don't. My organization, Move Oregon's Border, Greater Idaho, I just want to get the discussion started because I don't want to. And then I'll make suggestions. If they get a task force together and say, hey, it may come down to a statewide vote at that particular case. All the details would come out. I don't know what that would be, okay? So,
If it's worth it for you, if you have, say, if you get 60% who are in favor of moving the border, is it worth it to you to have 40% of the people unhappy, not want that?
that is a good question. But on the other hand, almost 59% of the people in 13 counties, averaging out Wallowa County into the group, are unhappy with what's
Well,
going on
maybe
too.
the answer would be to talk to each other
Agreed.
and not, and if you don't like, marijuana, okay, yourself.
I don't feel one or the other.
So if I like it, isn't it all right for me to have it and you not to have it?
It all comes down to 50 plus 1, whoever votes.
No,
Well, sure it does.
no, it doesn't
That's
have
the
to
way,
be.
that's the way our democracy is set up.
You're not.
Not in Idaho, it ain't, okay? That's not from Salt Lake City, man.
Okay, hang on just a second.
I'm sorry.
I heard you say you're a veteran. Thank you for your service.
Oh, you're
And Vietnam, my brother went to Vietnam too, so thank you for your service.
I don't want to misinterpret, please don't misinterpret what I
Oh, I
said.
understand.
I was in the service during Vietnam.
You're in Vietnam.
I did not go to Vietnam, I went to Korea.
But still, thank you for your
You're welcome.
service. Doesn't
You're
matter,
welcome.
right? Service is service.
I wanted to support my country. And it was a long, it may have been a long war after the fact.
That's not my question at all. My question is, we're about the same age. We remember when you buy a car, and you buy that car, and somebody writes a number, and then they fold the paper over, and they put it across the table, and you look at it, and you look, and you write your own number, and you send it back, right? Who's all done that so far? I've done that, my husband did it for me. What's it say on the paper for the price tag for all of this? If you were to write a number on a piece of paper and fold it over and send it to me, what's the price tag? Because I can't make a decision unless I have some kind of a ballpark to see what kind of money we're talking about. To me, it sounds like a lot of money. What's the money? Do you have an idea?
I don't know
Back
what,
envelope guesstimation?
okay, there's a figure that's come out that says, how is Idaho apply
Yeah.
the balance? Okay, understand, more than 50% of Oregon's land is federal. So that, nobody's buying anything, that's staying federal with it. Only 3% of Eastern Oregon is Oregon's state lands. 3%, okay? The rest of it's private, that you own it. Right. So, the facts, the figures, this is a complicated process, is it not?
Very.
And it may not lead to that process. But can we sit and talk about it at the decision level about where we think things are going on?
But this is where our level.
That laws are being passed that affect Portland in a positive way. What is going to happen?
We pass the laws because we vote for the
The
people.
voters
We
pass
vote
the laws.
for Salem.
Not somebody, some boogeyman in Salem.
One
No, it's people all
One
across
vote.
the state that
I'll
vote.
agree with you, but if you look at the numbers of voters just in Multnomah County, if they vote one particular way, it cancels all of Eastern Oregon out.
What I see happening is you feel minimized, and rightly so. Your voice is not being heard over in Salem, and I believe that. I believe that. You're feeling minimized, but as a result, you're minimizing the rest of us. That's the way I see it.
Okay?
So,
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I think this is wonderful to have a discussion, but I believe that it goes in the wrong direction. We need clarification on what you mean, what we mean, and what we believe is right for our area. Now, we are going to send a nice gentleman from Wallowa County to Salem.
Yes.
And we may be right there with him to help him.
Yes.
People need to join civic groups that make resolutions that will go to where they want them and work them out. To talk and to confuse the people, and all you can think about is my tax property will go this way. You need to be more specific with what you're saying.
Can I-
spent 20 years in the state of Mississippi, starting in education of the beginning of immigration. It was a wonderful education, not only the school, but the people. And people need to know where you come from, why you want this, why you think we want it, when we may not want anything to do with it. And the only thing I hear since I've been here, I think like 15, 20 minutes, is confusion. So explain things thoroughly. Because this is not going to work like this, because people don't want to have to change their address. They don't want to have to change their car tag. They don't want to have to change their wages. And we want to know why you want to do this. I was in school here in the 50s, and they were still wanting to go to Idaho. There are times people need to work at things in a little different manner. And this is me. Yes, everyone needs to get to the table. Everyone needs to talk because everyone is important.
Okay,
Everyone.
thank you. Now, then, when I started out this evening, I said a few citizens from 5 counties sat together and came up with an option. But we wanted to find out what the counties, the people in other counties, how do you counter the fact that almost 60% across 13 counties voted in favor of some type of discussion, looking into, or promoting moving the border? Not me. I didn't do it. I went out and I asked, how do you feel? Now, if, and I may put this in bad terms, so forgive me, but if, for whatever reason, if Oregon went to hell in a handbasket, government-wise, okay? And it was hard to handle certain things. It was hard to handle the COVID shutdown and things like that. Wouldn't it be nice to maybe have an option out there to look at and say, okay, here's an option. The old way of, and Mr. Nash, pardon me, Senator, to be on that, the old way of 1 senator per county. So you had equal representation, east and west, would be great. The Supreme Court struck that down in the mid-60s. There, they said, 1 vote, 1 person. If I were in that particular Supreme Court talking and say, wait a minute, why do you have 2 U.S. senators per state, no matter what the population is? So why can't we have 1 senator per county, no matter what the population is?
So it changed.
And that would balance things out, and it would allow it to be a discussion that said, maybe a bill that somebody wants to pass, which, like I say, helps Portland out, counters how we are. Maybe Portland says, we don't want diesel anymore in the state because of the smell and the green issue and everything else. How does that affect us over here? And I am over here on this side of the mountain, okay? Now, may I say that I'm not a true Eastern Oregon person. I live in Central Oregon. I live on the outskirts of Bend, which is sort of like the Portland of the East now. It is just, it's gone crazy. Price-wise, housing-wise, everything. But I love Oregon, I really do. So, we put it out to the counties to say, county folks, what do you think about it? And that's what the vote came back. And our state legislature does not want to pick it up and talk about it. So what are we supposed to do? Just go along with it? How is our voice
I have a
heard?
question. You say 60%.
Just ignore it, just quit?
You say 60% of the people are in favor of this. But that's only 60% of people who vote in special elections, which is very small. Why not do it during a general election when 80 to 90% of the people vote?
We have no choice on that. Okay? Some of those counties voted during a general election, whatever cycle they follow. Anyway,
I've got to ask a question. How would this be any different? We're going back to this, not collaboration. We just got off on collaboration, which I get that. Your idea about that makes sense, because I don't want to as people say, I ain't going with you no matter what. I'm rolling on my property. But what is the difference between that and actually about 8 people, which I didn't vote for?
different standpoint.
Does it take you? You're taking my private property away. That's what you hope to do.
I'm not doing it. I'm just saying that people.
Then the rest of the ones you're involved with are attempting to take my private property.
In other words, shoot the person who came up with the idea. Is that what
I
you're
just
saying?
think the way how, why would,
Yeah.
no, what I'm saying to you is, I own a piece of property. It's worth X. My life is involved in it. I'm farming. Now all of a sudden, I'm farming differently because somebody told me I have to. When I came over here to farm a certain way and be a certain way and put my kids in a certain school, to me, it amounts in parallel to what we call over in Idaho when the government would come in and try to take your property and do a condemnation on it. Because I've been involved in that before. Instead of just taking my whole ranch, they just wanted to use my road. Which is the difference? What's the difference?
I can't answer that because I don't know the particulars. I don't know what you've gone through.
Takings.
Okay, I believe what
Yeah.
you're saying. I don't disagree with that. I don't understand why, whatever, what.
I think she has a
It's very
question.
similar.
I know,
Yeah.
two folks
Sorry.
here have a
Go ahead.
question.
I don't mean to monopolize it.
But I admire your oxygen levels.
My wife says the same.
My name's Melissa Bush, and I'm relatively new to this topic. And I've heard you mention a lot of various topics like pot, sex, education, water rights. If you had a magic wand, what is the one thing, if you had to do one thing, what is it that you want Oregon legislatures to hear? What is the one thing that you want to be heard on? And I would think you also want something changed. What is the one thing that's most important to you?
The one thing I want
Yeah.
is somebody like Mr. Nash who becomes a senator that goes to Salem and what he says is a problem over here being totally ignored and marginalized. I want him to have that ability to stand up and for those folks to listen to.
You want a
No, wait,
greater
no, wait.
voice.
Because we're bringing an issue out from the grassroots up, from some of the people, what we feel is being stopped, stonewalled, forgotten, we don't care. That's what I'm hearing from one side of the legislature there. Because when we send people from Eastern Oregon or Central Oregon, no matter what party they are, that goes to Salem, they need to be heard.
But don't things take time? You think about the civil rights of the United States and how long people took to change things. And just getting up and saying, well, I don't want to be here anymore, it seems like a little kid when they don't want to be with their family anymore.
How do you get their attention?
I think it takes time.
How do you get their attention? Now, it's been going the
Rather
opposite
than
way
just
for
saying, I
20 or
don't
30
really
years.
play the game.
The legislature this coming session may be, on one side of the legislature, may be a super majority. They don't even have to listen to the other side. They can pass whatever they want to pass. You know, that's the way it's set up, the democracy, so be it on there. I'm saying that I would love our representatives, our senators that come from Eastern Oregon and Central Oregon to make a difference and for them to listen to it over there and say, Portland, you're trying to change something, you're trying to, whether it's Measure 110 or no bail on people that are arrested and stuff like that may help you out over there, but it may hurt us over here with it. So would you listen to us and take that into consideration when you pass the bills? Because it's not all about where a majority of the people are in this state. We're all out there with
I just
it.
think it's better to keep trying rather than just get up from the table, because one disruption leads to another and another and another. You might need to be patient about whatever it is, these things that you don't like. But just to get up and leave and to bring all of us with you doesn't seem fair.
Basically, I say, if you don't want to listen to us, if you don't care about, just like a step shop, if you don't care about it, then let us go.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Pardon?
What does that mean? Let us go.
Well, you've got 2 or 3 movements out there that want to create a new state of Eastern Oregon.
Jefferson, this one.
State of Jefferson, there's a state of Eastern Oregon out there now too. So, you know, I'm just saying, we're trying to get the discussions going.
So basically, this is kind of like a persuasive, I hate to use the word threat, it's kind of like a motivational movement.
It is.
It's not real, it's just kind of motivational.
It is a focused movement. Again, I'll say, if you don't want to listen to us, you don't want to take in, then let us know.
Election Act. I think that's what happened when this last, like he was talking about the, people not voting.
Okay,
Right.
hang on a second. I had a question. You've been patiently sitting there.
Thank you. So when you say that the goal is to have this kind of discussion in Salem, how do you picture that? What does that mean? Does that mean you set a date and we go to Salem, or does that mean, how are you picturing that discussion?
What I envision and what I always thought about is a task force. A task force put together that has state representative, state senator, people from both sides to sit down and to talk about the issues. To bring it to awareness up there so that, again, whichever side, and it may not be, right now, it looks like a supermajority potentially on the Democrat side, but it could be a Republican side, whichever way it goes. You've got a Republican side over in Idaho that's flip-flop with what we got here. To sit down and to talk about the issues, talk about bring the awareness level up that we're all one state. There is a difference between this side of the mountains and the other side of the mountains. We all realize that there is a difference. The lifestyles, the values, the open air, everything. When people, where do they come to vacation? Over here. And they don't want to go back home because they love it over here. But they can't make a living over here. So they feel the same thing, that there is difference. It is a beautiful place. Whether you're talking about, I'm fascinated driving towards Joseph and looking up in the Eagle Caps and stuff. I'm fascinated where I live, looking up in the Three Sisters and stuff like that, and the other mountains. Eastern Oregon is gorgeous. It is plain flat gorgeous. But I love Western Oregon too. Right now, I hate the rain. I mean, we gotta have a certain amount of it, but over there, it's just too much with it. I love where I live too. I just want to bring the awareness level up with it. And again, I'll say it, if they don't want to do that, what do? We gotta have something in place. She's been waiting.
Alright.
I'm sorry.
So there's 61% say of people that want this movement. Why not just keep trying to pass the laws or whatever it is you're trying to do instead of enforcing Idaho's laws on majority of people that don't want it? Like, so you're just okay with pushing the 40-some% people that chose to live here for their reasons and didn't choose to live in Idaho to the coast because the coast isn't listening to how many ever people are over here. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem right, it doesn't seem fair. Like, this is the state, a lot of us live in the state for the state level laws, not just the county laws, and I get that they're all important, and I get that they all matter, but the problem is the county laws and how many ever counties, 13 counties, and take those 61% people and take them to Salem and push what you're pushing for. Why push a whole other state over here and enforce your laws on people that it does not benefit?
Good question. Okay. I look at the facts and figures and say I like a lot of what Idaho has, but understand there is no perfect state in this union. I don't care what state you're talking about, north, south, east, west. There is none on there. We happen
I
to.
like a lot of what Oregon has, and that's laws that pertain to my family, being LGBT, being black, being a woman. What are you going to do for my family?
Yeah, I can't feel what you feel. Okay, understand. And so I don't want to.
So you're just okay with pushing my family out because your needs are met?
I don't know if pushing family out or having,
It would
you
be,
have to
it would be,
accept.
I can't live in Idaho,
Well, not the way you're.
and that's why I don't live in
No,
Idaho.
I mean, that's me, I
It's
can't.
not how I
live
feel,
there.
it's my life.
I would say, and I
Do
think
you know
most-
how many anti-discrimination laws are in your state for my people, for my community?
Right. Are you saying that Idaho's bad?
It's For LGBT people in specific, yes.
Okay.
I know a lot of people here might not care about that, but I do.
Well, there are some people over here that have a problem with men and women's sports.
But the
That
law
particular-
protects us.
That particular issue there.
Well, then maybe they should move to Idaho. Why are you moving Idaho to us?
Well, you're speaking for yourself, I'm speaking for
I'm
myself.
not.
I love where I live, I really do.
It's more than just that problem. It's obviously wages, there's the housing, there's people in healthcare that support certain things in this state that are not gonna support it because of Idaho's laws. So you're gonna lose nurses and doctors as well based on your laws alone. What are you gonna do about that?
We just have to see whether things are grandfathered in, changed, or whatever, if that were to come about. Okay? But first, you gotta start talking. Yes, ma'am.
Would you feel that the rural voice would be better heard if we were to return, or if we were to return to one senator per county?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Would you feel that the rural voice would be heard better if Oregon returned to a senator per county?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, that is something that could be proposed in Salem, working within our state, within our system. And
There are two hurdles there. Number one,
actually had in Oregon,
Never.
Walker County.
yep. But you have to get past the Supreme Court decision first. And the Supreme Court would have to say, kicking it back down to the state. Pardon me, folks, Democrats, pardon me, okay? I don't believe that the Oregon Democrat Party, will have control of the legislature, would vote that in and allow it in the state of Oregon, because they would lose that control. All we're talking about is it would balance out the state.
I like the idea about one senator, one county.
It's a great idea.
I did some research on this constitution, the state constitution, and it turns out, which surprised the hell out of me, that the state of Oregon has one of the easiest states in the union to amend the constitution. You probably read it yourself. And I think that's part of where you guys are going, is you clung onto that. And it's law. It's okay with me. I get that. This is one spot. What you're talking about with the senator deal, there might be a collaboration. You see, instead of going so extreme, there may be a resolution to this by
But
collaboration.
that's
okay.
working within our given system, within our state.
This.
But in the end, it is still, majority rules. I mean, we have a bigger voice. We may have.
From the very beginning of this organization, I wanted to keep it away from politics. I wanted to keep it into values. What your values are, with faith, family, freedom, and more importantly for me, self-sufficiency. I don't need the government to do everything for me. I want to be self-sufficient myself on it, because when the government does everything for you, guess what? They got you on it. They can say, hey, you do this or we'll take this away from you on it. So, but I mean, that's what I want to do. But now, please understand that Oregon is not the only state that is doing this. Illinois, 27 counties have voted to leave Illinois because Chicago controls the vote and control the whole state. New York has a problem because New York City does the same. I've heard they've contacted us about different issues.
I'm thinking, we promised folks we'd be about an hour. It's been an hour and 20, and I don't want to keep you too much
I'm
longer.
sure. Thank you, Alicia.
You bet.
Folks, please feel free. You can grab my card, you can get a hold of me, email me. I'll answer to you. Even
And I don't mean to seem rude, even though it does come from us,